Welcome on introductions. We can tick that off pretty much. I'm going to start talking a little bit about understanding the Era business, okay? You probably already know quite a bit about Era Group, things that you have read in the internet, found in materials that we may have sent you in an email or a brochure, things that you've discovered in your first conversations with us. We want to go a bit deeper today, hopefully, to just add to the understanding that you already have and make sure you leave tonight with a well-rounded picture of who we are and what we do. Then we want to talk about building a business within the business, building an asset. What does it mean to build your own consulting practice within the Era network? How does it work for our partners? And then, very exciting part of tonight, we have with us Stefano Novarini from Italy, who's one of our franchise partners, who's been with us for quite some time, very successful and dear colleague. And he will share his story on how he joined Era Group, how he built his business, and what he's doing today. And then we have Q&A. So Stefano and I will both be available for questions. So please, throughout the next 50 minutes, if you have questions, just put them in the chat, okay? So we won't be able to activate your microphone. It's too short for this, but we will try to answer the main questions and then leave you with some concrete idea of what the next steps could be. Very briefly, myself, my name is Arndt Halbach, born and raised in Germany. I'm 47 years old, and I joined Era in 2007 as the first partner in Germany. So I've been with the business for 17 years now. Incredible journey so far, and really have been able to contribute to the growth of our business across Europe, Middle East, Africa over that long period. And I've been the president of the EMEA business, and earlier this year transitioned into a global role of developing our franchise network, because I think that's the most important part of the business. Era Group and the consulting business is really first and foremost about the people. And if we bring the right talent in with the right ambition, the right visions and ideas on how we can drive value for our clients, we will be very successful. I think one of the partners said it. It's fundamentally, business is always about relationships. And I think that's true in consulting, right? If you have talented people that build strong relationships with clients, everything is possible, and we can all make wonderful money off of the service that we provide. So Era is a people business. This is why this is also very important to us. Right? I'm sure it's important to you to explore this as a potential next step in your professional lives. So hopefully you're excited about that whole journey and finding out more, but we're equally excited about learning about you. Let me dive into who we are and what we do. So this is probably something that you already know pretty much, right? We are 1,000 people around the world, covering more than 50 countries by now. We've been going for more than 30 years. We started in 1992, so we're now going to be 33 years next year. Another exciting milestone. And what we do is primarily cost optimization, cost management for our clients. And it started with just a few areas of cost. And today we have this long list of areas where we do work for clients every day, every week, whether that's banking and financial services, insurance, marketing services, all the way down to waste management and taxes. There is no cost item on a client's business that we couldn't help them with, really. So that whole idea of optimizing a client spend and then working on a no saving, no fee, success fee model has been very, very successful for us over the 30 years. But in recent years, there are a couple of other aspects that are becoming increasingly important for our clients. Sustainable procurement, you see there, right? So this whole idea of sustainability for our friends from Norway dialing in tonight, or from Finland, I'm sure that you will appreciate that, right? Clients in the Nordics are very focused on the sustainability aspects of the work that we do. But then there's also business transformation aspects to the work we do. So some of our clients, especially in the small and medium-sized businesses, they're really struggling to understand how they can apply new technologies, new methodologies, things that are available, blockchain, 3D printing, AI, and of course now in recent days, and how they can drive that business transformation of their organization. And so they love to see us coming in and helping them with that aspect. And there's also this aspect of supplier management, which is, in a lot of businesses that we've been working with, they've been pretty good at driving efficiencies and savings together with us, but they haven't had a strong risk management approach. They maybe wanted to over maximize the savings. And so during the COVID pandemic, and then, after the COVID, the kind of the disruptions that we saw with all the container ships being stuck in ports somewhere, all of a sudden that became very relevant for a lot of our clients, is to actually say, oh, we need to maybe think about our supplier management in a more strategic way, to have multiple suppliers for the same category and have a proper strategy around the world. So this is also part of what we do for our clients, helping them really across the end-to-end supply chain, making sense of it from a saving perspective, but also from a risk management perspective. And there's one little number on this slide that you may not have seen yet. This is a $12 billion of spend under review. That means that currently for our clients, as of December 2024, we're currently analyzing around $12 billion for our clients. Just to give you an idea of the scope of the work that we do. So we're analyzing, thousands of millions around the world, which is, actually quite impressive, when you speak to suppliers and you see the volume that we're dealing with them. So that's kind of who we are, what we do. This slide is very important, I think, for us to help you understand, because it shows the typical client, right? The typical client, if you look at the right-hand side, is a small and medium-sized enterprise, right? You see in all of our marketing, you'll see some of the big logos, like on this slide, Unilever, IKEA, Airbnb, or Virgin. Those are big companies that we have worked for, that we are working for, very proud of that, but they're not the typical ERA Group client. Typical clients, as you can see in the pie chart, 35% of our clients have less than 20 million in turnover, 25% have 20 to 50 million. So really, 3 out of 4 clients are actually really small businesses of less than 100 million in annual revenue. Okay, so that's really the typical ERA client. And there are thousands of organizations like that wherever you're dialing in from, right? In Istanbul, there are probably 100,000 businesses like that. In Turkey, the same in Norway. There, I'm just picking those 2 examples. So in Costa Rica, we've got wonderful clients in that range as well. So that's the typical client. And that's very important, because that's where we can add so much value. In a company with 20 million or 50 million US dollars in annual turnover, we're talking maybe a business of 200, 300 employees. And, that's where there is not a lot of management. There's not a bit strong procurement function or a strong controlling function. And they can really, really benefit from the service that we bring, because they don't have internal knowledge and expertise. And when you look at the industries, 1 out of 3 clients comes out of manufacturing. So if you have a manufacturing background and you feel strongly about that, that's definitely something that's very, very well reflected in our business model. But we also have very strong client base in retail and professional services, healthcare, education, construction, banking, hospitality, whatever it is. So the business model really works across all sizes of clients, across all industries. It doesn't really matter. So that's one of the big attractions, I think, right? So I'm sure a lot of you have built your careers in one industry or maybe 2 industries, and maybe you've worked in multinational big companies. Now, when you step out of that world, all of a sudden, this whole world of opportunity opens up in this small and medium-sized enterprise space, where there are hundreds of thousands of clients waiting for us to work with them. So I think that's quite a fascinating aspect of our work. I said we've been around for more than 30 years. In some cases, that's not necessarily good. In some cases, that just means that it's a business that's kind of flatlining. It's not growing a lot. Our business is growing a lot. The only year in the last 32 years where we didn't grow aggressively was 2020, actually, where we had this little COVID dip. But I can tell you, in the post-COVID world, in this world of volatility, increased uncertainty, and nervousness in the marketplace about deglobalization and, all the political unrest that we're seeing, and the slow growth here in Europe, certainly, inflation, all of those things. Decision makers in all the businesses over the last years, and especially this year, are really looking for help in cost reduction, making sure that they run an efficient business as much as possible. And so that's really helped us. So since the pandemic, we've added more than 3,000 new clients, more than 11,000 new projects. We're adding new franchise partners every year, so to keep up with the pace of development of the business. And this is a kind of a heat map of our clients around the world. So you can see we have a strong client base in the United States and then all of Latin America. So for you guys from Mexico City and Central America, strong base there, especially in Central America. And it's become a really hotspot for our service over the last couple of years, strong growth. And then obviously the biggest client base for us is Europe, right? We started in the UK in 92. We started quite early across places like Germany and Spain and Italy and the Nordics. So yeah, and more recently we've moved into Turkey. So that's an exciting development where you can now actually leverage those thousands of clients that we are servicing around the world and hopefully start working with some of those organizations also in Turkey and in the Middle Eastern region where we have started to get some traction. So that's a little bit about us internally. I think we've seen a lot of success over the recent years, but we are actually just getting excited about what the whole future holds for ERA Group, because what you see is 2024 is actually a very special year for us, where we've just gone through a rebranding process at the beginning of this year. We started in 1992 with this green logo of Expense Reduction Analysts. 2008, we rebranded to this blue color Expense Reduction Analyst logo. And it was always a good branding for us because Expense Reduction Analysts says very much what we did for the client. You know, saving expenses, reducing costs was pretty clear to a client. But over the recent years, as I said, a lot of the service that we are providing has branched out into sustainability and strategic advice, risk management, business transformation. So all of those aspects really weren't covered well by the brand. So we thought, okay, it's time to rebrand to ERA Group, which we have done earlier this year. It opens up a whole new world of opportunity with our clients because all of a sudden we're not just limited to the cost reduction piece. We can actually develop the relationship much beyond that. And there is a 1-minute video that we would like to play now that just explains the positioning of the brand. You may have seen it already on LinkedIn, on our website, but it's 1 minute about our positioning, and maybe just listen to the words that have very little to do with cost reduction. There are a lot of words that describe who we are that point more to other aspects of business. So just like to play that for a second, if we can.
Since 1992, we have stood at the forefront of cost optimization and process improvement. We help clients turn insight into opportunities, enabling businesses to grow, build competitive advantage, and drive bottom-line impact, built on transparency and trust. Our diverse global teams bring deep industry and functional expertise and a range of perspectives to spark change. We are the resource that today's modern leaders need as they navigate a new horizon, face unforeseen challenges, and seek new opportunities. In 2024, we are proud to announce a new era for our business and yours. The ERA Group.
Still love it. So I hope that makes sense. Did you hear? I heard process improvement. I heard spark change. I heard navigate new horizons, seek new opportunities. So that's, you know, if you think about a small and medium-sized business, right, and how they can benefit from working with ERA Group, that really describes it very well. Because oftentimes we engage with the customer based on a no saving, no fee model to focus on the cost side of their business, yes. But then all of a sudden they get familiar with the expertise and the people that we actually bring to their organization. And they say, wow, those people have so much more to offer. They can actually help me really on a very, functional, cross-functional level to just spark change in my organization and just become, overall a better business. So I think that's part of the attraction of looking at ERA today, is that we are in a place now where we can actually do that. And so that takes me a little bit to the benefits of, possibly becoming a franchise partner with ERA Group. Okay. It's not something that you may have considered in your life, but, if you now start to think about maybe starting your own business for the first time as a consultant, I know that some of you are already consultants and have your own businesses, but many haven't. Many are still in management roles or are leaving management roles. So what is the main benefit of joining a network like ERA Group? and investing money in that process. Now, the first thing I would argue is the branding and the marketing, right? So really getting yourself out there as part of a global firm. And we've got a marketing team of actually 12 full-time people that are just working for our partners day in, day out. Of course, putting together brochures and everything and wonderful websites, but more importantly, working with you as a partner to get you in front of customers. So this is an internal marketing agency team that when you start your business with ERA Group, they will do everything for you that you need to be set up and ready to communicate with the marketplace. PR, events, personal branding, getting your email marketing, direct marketing out to customers. Digital marketing is becoming more important. So really everything that you need to position yourself as a thought leader in the field of business efficiency, business optimization, whatever you want to call it, right? So, and that in itself, I can tell you, I've started my own business before I joined ERA Group. That can take you a year or two just to figure that out and get your positioning right and make it attractive and communicate on social media every day. So I would argue that's a big benefit. And so that's the first thing that we like to do for our new starters, is to make sure that they get it out to customers as soon as possible and as clearly as possible. Then once you have a customer, of course, the second big benefit that I can't stress enough is we have a standard product. So we have a productized service, right? There's a lot of consultants that start their business every day, actually hundreds of thousands of executives and business leaders that say, I'm leaving the corporate world, I'm starting my own business as a consultant. Great. And then of course you take all of that seniority and that experience that you have from running businesses over the last 20, 30 years, and you have a lot to offer. But how do you package it in a way that it's easy for the client to understand? And it's easy for the client to buy into and actually also take his or her team along on that journey. So we've created this standard methodology that is very clear to explain to a client, this is what we're going to do, Mr. Client. If you sign up with us, we're going to first analyze your current situation. We're going to look at how you are spending money today, how you're interacting with your suppliers, and we'll come back to you with a situation report. Once that's out of the way, we will then start the research phase, which means we are starting to now actually look for better opportunities for you and your team in the marketplace. Working with your existing suppliers, working with new suppliers, thinking about alternative products and solutions, and we'll come back with an options report. Then you choose the option that you want to implement, and we will do the implementation for you, Mr. Client. Okay, that's the first 3 stages. But after implementation, actually, what usually happens in cost management programs is that once you implement it, everybody forgets about it, gets on with their day and does other things. The next project is coming along, so nobody's following up on the savings. And then what happens is suppliers are very good at crawling back their profits, and internal people are not so good at remembering the new policies. And so everything goes back to where you were a year ago. And so often the savings initiatives after a year, 18 months, 24 months, the effect is basically zero. And what we're saying to our customers, no, we will do it very differently. We will stay around for the next 36 months, Mr. Customer, and monitor what's going on every month, every quarter, to make sure that this relationship between you, your teams, your suppliers actually changes. So it's not just about getting better prices, it's actually about making sure that for those prices, people are actually buying stuff and moving those services around. So it's very, very different. So this step number 4 of the monitoring period, where we now start sharing the savings with the client, is really the unique piece of our work. And if you compare that to other consultancies who like to give a great PowerPoint presentation with strong recommendations about what the client could be doing, and then they say, here's my invoice, goodbye, it's very, very different. So just wanted to make that point. So that methodology in itself is very, very meaningful and very important for your success. And I just want to make one very, very clear point, that it's not so much about the price. Right? Oftentimes our clients, but also maybe some of you on the call, you think that, oh, okay, ERA Group, they must be so good at negotiating better prices. That's how they make their business. That's not really the case. We have to go a lot deeper than just getting a better price for the same thing. It's about policies, products, providers, processes, called the 4 P's of procurement. So it's really working with the suppliers to increase workflow, get better workflows in place, improve on everything that we can find in the policies and the products, and just introduce better solutions, really. So it's very much in that partnership with suppliers that we find really good solutions. Of course, as a consultant in the year 2024, or we're almost 25, one thing that will become increasingly important to you and to your clients is technology. Right? So another big benefit of joining a group, whether that's Era Group or somebody else, is you have an IT team, you have a joint investment in IT technology that will guarantee that you have actually the right tools and the proper infrastructure, the technology stack, as we now call it, to improve your customer situation and also impress your customer with the way you present information. So we've got our internal tools. SpendView is one of them. Data visualization on the cost of your clients. You can put data in. It goes through an AI bot, and it basically comes out the other end with a very sexy presentation of where the opportunities reside for your client. So I would say, if you start your own business as a consultant, just be mindful of what's going on in technology and how you would be able over the next 10, 20 years to stay on top of that. We have a full-time IT team of, I think, 6, 7 people that are just working in supporting everything that we provide in terms of software. Everything you need to run your business is provided as part of the partnership with us. But the main point, I would say, there is marketing, there's the methodology, there's the technology, all of those things are important. But the main point that I think you need to understand the value of is this joint venture model that we've created. So I said at the beginning, we are 1,000 people around the world working together in one team for our clients. Well, how does that work? So this is the model that we have created. We have at the bottom, if you look at client acquisition and project management, those two areas, right, they're closely linked at times, right? The client acquisition is the hunting and getting the deal over the line. Project management is the long-term relationship with the client. So often that's handled by the same person. So I would say if I sign a client here locally in Germany, I would probably do the client acquisition and the project management in one go. And I would keep 50% of the revenue from my client for just doing that. But then what I would do is for my projects that I'm selling to that client, project 1 to 5, logistics, print, energy, packaging, I don't know, banking services, I would now choose different colleagues from the network to work with me as a partner. And I would have somebody as a logistics expert coming into my client, somebody who is a utilities expert, a packaging expert, and they would do all the analytics, they would do all the report writing, they would work with the suppliers. They're real experts in their field. And so that's the strength of our model, is that you can actually bring world-class knowledge to your client locally by bringing in people from this network who do this all day long, who only do logistics, who only do packaging, who only do banking, financial services. So that's how the model works. And then you share the savings, you share the fees. It's a very clear and simple model. Now, before I get to handing you over to Stefano, just want to run you through 2 case studies, just to show you what all of this can mean to your clients. The first one is one of our very large European clients that we've been dealing with for a lot of years in Europe, a company called Gunnebo. They specialize in security systems across 30 different countries. And really, the relationship started in Scandinavia with 2 of our franchise partners working with Gunnebo. And then from there, it branched out into more countries. So by now, we've worked with Gunnebo across 15 different countries, more than 50 experts involved, optimized more than 20 categories. And if you look at the list of things that we've been doing for them, some of them were extremely successful, like in this case, IT or printing, others not so much. But on average, even for a multinational company like Gunnebo, we've been able to save them 19%. Right? And this is a client case study that they have signed off. The CFO has actually given us a great testimonial saying it's unbelievable how successful we were working with Era Group. And this has been going on for many, many years. It's a very successful collaboration. So we're very proud of clients like that. Okay, so this can happen to each of you, right? Where you start the business somewhere in your local market. And then you're actually able to not just service them in your country or your region, but you can actually say, of course, we can help you in America. Of course, we can help you in Australia or in South Africa or in Turkey, right? Where we're now getting more and more requests. So I think that's really a big strength of the model. Second example is really one of those smaller clients, right? This is a community health center in America. It's just a few doctors, a few nurses, a small business, successful business, but they wanted to save money on everything they could to reinvest in paying higher wages to their nurses, but also getting a better service for their patients, nicer facilities, etc. So we went to work. We found $645,000 in annual savings for them. And you can see the stuff that we've been doing, really, standard work like office supplies or waste management. But we've also done very specific things. So medical supplies, reference lab services, dental supplies, language translations was hugely successful. So you see, there's no limit to what we can do with the experts we have. We have a strong medical team also in the healthcare, specialist group. So I think that's just a wonderful example, because they were super happy with, $650,000 in annual savings. They were like, wow, that will really change our business. That will allow us to reinvest hundreds of thousands into the business every year. And so those are wonderful clients, because they also give you recommendations to other similar businesses. And then from there, you just build a long-term relationship. So that's how it can work. And what that means to you, again, bringing it back to what's the experience? What's the business case for somebody starting their business with Era Group? Well, you start your business day one, you have to find your first client, right? That's your number one priority as an entrepreneur. Get your first client, get your first projects implemented. So you see that in this case, now every client is not just 1 or 2 invoices. It will become a cash flow for the next 2, 3, 4 years, right? So your first client gives you an income for the next years, because you will be sharing the savings with them every month, every quarter. Then you sign this second client, a third client, and all of a sudden you see that, oh, this is a business that can scale, because I can have 5, 10 clients working in parallel, because I'm not doing everything for the client. I'm just doing a little part. All the others are doing the actual work together with me for the client. So I can now scale my business to be infinitely better and more sustainable and more profitable than I could without such a network. Now, we can go into the details on how this is invoiced. This is not for today, maybe, but it's a very important basic concept to understand that it takes longer to build it up in year one. Yes. And I'm sure that some of you already have that question mark. What would that look like? The business plan, and how would the ramp up period look? But more importantly, this is not something that you're looking to do for a year or two, right? I think the decision to change over and set up your own consulting business, hopefully is something that you're doing for the next 10 years or for the rest of your life, right? Building your own business, becoming self-employed, becoming an entrepreneur. So if you look at it from that perspective of 10, 15 years, I can tell you, I'm now here 17 years. And really, once you're over your first ramp up period, it just becomes a business that is very profitable, but also very comfortable, because you have that long-term view on your cash flow coming in the next 2, 3 years. So when I think about 2025, when we as a management team think about 2025, 26, I can already see what we will be doing in 2026 from speaking to our partners and looking at the data in our CRM system. That's very hard for most businesses to do that way, certainly in the consulting field. So it's the beauty of the business. And that's also, again, bringing it back to it, we are people business. So it's not just about the numbers and the reports and working with the clients. It's also internally, you'll build great connections to friends and people around the world who you'll be working with together. So you can build your own business, work from home if you want to, or work from your local city, build a great local business, but you will never lose the touch of that global experience of working internationally. That's something that we all have in common. We enjoy that aspect very much, and that's the best part of our years, when we come together for different conferences internally and work together in that way. Okay, so I know I've been talking fast, but hope you are still with us. And so I'm now going to hand you over to Stefano, who will share a little bit about his journey with Era Group.
Great. Thank you, Arne. Just let me share my screen. Okay.
Yeah.
You should probably... Can you see it now?
It's coming up. Yeah, there we are.
Okay, great. So hello, everyone. And I can see there are a lot of participants and probably also a lot of expectation. So I hope to be able today to share with you some of my experience in ERA in order to help you in better understanding the business model and also take the right decision for your future. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm 59 years old, live in Italy, Milano area, happily married, and have a 19-year-old son who is currently studying and living in Netherlands. Regarding my professional experience before joining ERA 12 years ago, I spent 25 years in various executive positions in multinational companies. And then, since I joined ERA, my main focus has always been in the role of category specialist, but I also like to be involved in client acquisition, leveraging my personal network, as I still enjoy growing the business and increasing my revenue with some sales activity. However, just for your information, when I acquire a new client, then I usually prefer to delegate the project management part to my colleagues, allowing me to focus on my main role as a specialist in the telecommunication category. After introducing myself, I would like to share with you also the personal and the professional reasons that motivated me to join the ERA network. Regarding the personal reasons, as you can see from the slide, at that time, I was facing a very strong stress, similar to that of many other managers who hold the responsibility positions. Also, the pressure was very high and very difficult to manage. Then also my family life was also affected because I couldn't spend quality time with them because I was always traveling, leaving early in the morning, returning late in the evening, very often exhausted during the weekends, and sometimes forced to work even on holidays. Another reason why I was looking for new opportunities was related to the fact that I was not completely satisfied with my previous job. And even if it was the first time in my career, it was another good reason to look for new opportunities. And finally, I was also gaining a lot of weight due to the lack of time for physical activity and to take care about myself and my health. So despite being only 47 years old at the time, I was already feeling old and it was totally unacceptable to me. Well, how is the situation today? Trust me, it's much better. I'm more relaxed, definitely have more control over my life. I believe I have now an happy family and can finally spend quality time with them. Then I love my job and I don't take Mondays anymore because I have more time to relax during the weekend. And this allows me to start the week almost always in a good mood. And finally, I have more time to do some sport and take care about my health. And moving to the next slide, I would also like to share the professional reasons that convinced me to join ERA, which were equally important to me. Also because you should know that initially I was very worried and hesitant to switch from a company role to a consulting job, and we had no experience at all in this field. In addition, I also saw many friends of mine and former colleagues struggling with the difficulties encountered in this transition. However, in the end, I believe that I was quite lucky to come across ERA and find that their business model could help me learn in the consulting job and at the same time also provide me with the support to grow the business from the very beginning, eliminating the need for me to start from scratch. So that was my situation when I joined ERA. And then after joining ERA, I clearly had to start a new adventure in my life and start a new business. And to start the business in the best possible way, the first thing I did was to try to earn something quickly and make myself known by the Italian network. So I started using my personal connection to find customers through a minimum of sales activities, which luckily led to positive results. At the same time, however, I started developing the role of category specialist, which was my favorite role, trying to identify which cost categories were fitting best with my knowledge and experience. So I started reading all the documents available in ERA and talking to partners in Italy, in Europe, and even in the rest of the world. And through this process, I found that despite my experience coming from the office supplies and printing industries, the telecommunication category offered the best opportunities for me. This was mainly due to the fact that at that time, no one in the Italian network was seriously focusing on this category, while on the other hand, it was one of the most requested categories by the customers. And in fact, today, it is one of the best performing categories in Italy in terms of results, and other partners in Italy are also collaborating with me in this category. And that's good, because this collaboration allows us to share our knowledge and expertise, working together on projects and continuously improving our results. So this is how I discovered the telecommunication category, but then the next challenge was to develop the category, which was also important. And how did I do that? Okay, I just shared with you that I came from a different industry and therefore I had to gain new knowledge to develop the category. So now I would like to share with you what I have done to learn and grow in this area. And this advice is also probably, from my point of view, is also one of the most valuable if you will decide to join ERA, because from my point of view, the first 6 to 12 months are very crucial to build a successful career in ERA. This is because your first project that you will deliver will be always the most important ones to establish your reputation within the network. By delivering quality results, meeting project deadlines, and achieving savings, you will gain the trust of both your networks and your clients, opening up more opportunities. On the other hand, poor results can create some difficulties in being involved in future new projects. So to avoid this risk, for my first project, I decided to collaborate with other senior partners to ensure quality results and learn from their experience. In doing so, I clearly had to sacrifice some income because I had to share some joint venture fee with them, but this allowed me to achieve excellent results right from the start and quickly establish myself as one of the leading experts in the telecommunication category within the Italian network. And let me add also with very interesting result, because to give you also some numbers, I can tell you that so far I have successfully implemented several projects with a total saving of more than 9 million euros and an average saving percentage of around 40%. Then in addition, I'm also currently part of a European team that deals with the IT and telecommunication project with focus on category development, but also on international project management. And in addition, I also like to dedicate part of my time in continuously exploring and developing new telecommunication subcategories like Internet of Things or data connectivity solution like SD-WAN, which are offering exciting opportunities right now. And moving on to the next slide, I'd also would like to anticipate a question that I have received very often during past presentation about the number of projects that a specialist can manage. In this slide, you can see my consolidated data for 2023, including ongoing projects that started in previous years. And this is because, as explained by Jan during this presentation, our projects typically run for about 36 months on average, but sometimes even longer, as very often customers ask us to continue supporting them beyond the normal contract duration. Just for your information, you should know that I have clients who have been working with me for more than 10 years. But however, returning to the numbers on the slide, in 2023, I would say that I managed a total of 31 projects, of which 19 coming from previous years and 12 new projects implemented in 2023. As I said before, since our project usually lasts for 36 months as an average, during the year, some projects are phasing out, and in the meantime, new ones start. So it is very important to maintain the right balance between all the new projects. Also, in terms of value, this project represented a total annual expenditure of 3.6 million euro with a saving of approximately 1.4 million euro. And these numbers can show you that you can generate significant revenue without having to manage hundreds of projects. However, it's also equally important to remember that these achievements are based on 12 years of experience in ERA and clearly can be different depending also on the category manager and the level of expertise. Another important takeaway from my experience in ERA, as mentioned above, is the importance of maintaining a good balance between existing and new projects so that you can secure a consistent income on one side and potentially improve it by focusing always on higher value projects. You should be aware that increasing the number of projects without having enough time to manage them can reduce work quality and the opportunity to develop new projects. So this is why I always like to give priority to quality over quantity and collaborate with other telecom experts so that I can improve results and reduce the workload. Then moving on to the next slide, I would also like to share some example of the remarkable result that we have achieved in some new subcategories like Internet of Things that I was mentioning before. Let's take, for example, customer number 4 mentioned in this slide, where we achieve an amazing 90% of saving. And the most interesting thing to know is that these savings were not the result of any magical or super aggressive negotiation, but are mainly due to many other reasons. First of all, you should know that in this category, customers tend to overlook this cost because they have very little impact on the cost per unit. We are in fact talking about SIM cards that cost a few euros, sometimes even less than €1, and are mainly used for services that are very often resold at a much higher prices. As a result, these costs don't get much attention from the clients. Additionally, there is also the typical customer's inability and lack of resources, lack of internal resources to analyze their consumption in detail and understand their real needs. And that is where most of the savings come from. A good analysis and a deep knowledge of the market offers always contribute to the majority of savings, while negotiation is only a marginal part of the savings. And in this specific example of these customers, you should know that most of the savings were coming from identifying services and options that the customer was paying for, but not using at all. The customer didn't even know that they had a lot of inactive SIM cards incurring costs without generating any kind of traffic. Well, after sharing my journey with ERA, I would also like to tell you something about my future projects, since I still have some years before retiring. And let me start by telling you what I'm still doing to grow the business. First of all, let me say that depending on your role, there may be different options to grow your business. In fact, by working on the client acquisition side, you can safely continue to grow your customer base without any limits. There are no limits for them. You can get any client you want. On the other hand, a project manager or a category specialist clearly cannot manage an infinite number of projects because the workload could be too high. So there are two options to continue growing. The first one could be to expand your business by hiring employees or collaborators. And this is a very logical choice that many of my colleagues have made. Personally, until now, I didn't want to follow this option, but only because I no longer want to spend my time in managing people. But then later I will tell you something more about that. But instead, I would prefer to dedicate that time to my private life, maintaining a healthy balance between my professional and private life. However, this was just my personal choice. And in any case, despite achieving a good balance and having a very good income level, much better than what I initially expected when I joined ERA, of course, I'm still interested in increasing my income. So what am I doing to improve the situation? As I mentioned during my presentation, I'm now mainly trying to focus on leveraging the skills and the reputation that I have built over the years to target always more high-value projects in order to increase my income. So in that way, while maintaining the same number of projects that I used to manage in the past, I can still increase my earnings. And in addition, whenever possible, I also try to offer my expertise and experience to other colleagues by assisting them in their projects and receiving a part of their fee, but with a marginal time commitment, as I'm less involved in the operational parts, which are the ones that usually take away most of the time in a project. So doing that way, this clearly allows me to continue to increase my income without spending too much time on operational activities. However, as I was saying before, as an additional information, despite the fact that I said before that I don't like to spend my time managing people, I don't like to do it anymore, I must tell you that I recently changed my mind as I found very interesting opportunities in a new category related to commercial building rentals, thanks to a person that I met in the recent years and who has been able to convince me in developing this category. A person who is now working with me and with excellent results. And just to give you an idea, on the first project we implemented in this category, we were able to deliver a saving of €500,000 just for a single building. So you can imagine that was really enough to convince me about the potential of the category and the need to invest in extra resources, changing my mind. And then another factor to keep in mind for the future, very important for me, is also the need to continue enjoying what I do. Over the years, I have not only met new colleagues, but I also made many new friends and had a lot of beautiful moments with them. So I would therefore like to continue this way, having fun and enjoying my work, which is very, very important. Okay, my presentation is almost over, but before I leave you, I would like to also summarize and share some key learnings from my experience in ERA. So in the following couple of slides, I wanted to put together some recommendations that I believe could be valuable to keep in mind if you will decide to choose and to join the ERA family in the future. To begin with, if you decide to join ERA, I recommend that you will explore all the ERA roles, sales, project management, and specialist, so that you can better understand them. However, I also believe that after a certain period of time, it is very essential to specialize always in a specific role. Then it is also important to avoid working alone. Remember that while working in customer acquisition, project management, and specialist role at the same time, of course, you can increase revenue because you can get a higher fee at the beginning, but we work just in the short term. But in the long term, it could also lead to lost opportunities. Always keep in mind that the success of the ERA model is primarily based on the collaboration between partners and the unique value that they bring to each project. By combining your best skills and knowledge, you can be sure that you will always get the best results. And it is also very important to keep in mind that also the clients and the partners always demand for the highest level of quality in project management. So as a result, your ability to deliver excellence in every aspect of the project, including meeting deadlines, will always be critical in securing new joint venture opportunities. And last but not least, within the ERA network, I also believe that it is very essential to remain humble and always maintain a strong desire to learn and collaborate with other partners. Something that I'm still doing after 12 years in ERA. And I still always remember that a successful project, as I said before, is always the result of the joint efforts of all the partners working together for the same common goal. Compared to a company role, most of the time you have a completely opposite targets. In this case, we have always the same common goal, because as more as we are able to bring savings to the customers, as more as we can bring some value and income to us. Well, that was the last slide. So thank you for your attention. I hope my presentation was helpful in providing you with a better understanding of the business model. Ready to answer to any questions. You are on mute, Arn.
Yes, struggling with technology. All right, Stefano, thank you very much. Very impressive. And yeah, so some of you have already put questions into the chat. We still have a couple of minutes, so we'll try to tackle those now. I'll do the first one to you, Stefano. It says, Stefano, can you give us a brief description of what it means to implement the project? In my slide previously, I think it said, it takes 4 to 6 weeks. So can you just explain what implementation can mean in telco, but also in other categories maybe?
Yeah, well, just quickly, just talking about the first step mentioned by Arn before, there is a first phase where we analyze the data, analyze all the data we can get from the customers. Then we bring home all our jobs. We do the analysis. We present a situation report where is the photography of what we found with the clients. Then we start the negotiation. As soon as they accept what we propose to them as a benchmark, and as a result of the analysis, we start the negotiation with the suppliers. We present the option to the customers. They are able to choose the option they prefer, because it's not always the highest saving, can be based on some specific service or request from them. And then compared to the typical consultant company where they stop at that step, we offer the possibility to help them in implementing the project. So it means we check the contract, we help them to change the suppliers. If they have to do some tests, like in some specific category like transportation, we do the testing phase. So we support them in this phase. And after that, we got 36 months, which is called the monitoring period, where we not only control the invoices, we not only produce what we call the monitoring report, where we quantify the real saving in order to get paid and get the right fee, but we also give some hints and tips anymore. We also support the clients in still improving the result. In the 36 months, for example, we found new solution, new offer coming from the market. We always try to implement this new solution, these new services, these potential saving, because it's still another potential income for us. So we really work together with the customers for at least 36 months. And most of the time, it's happening in some categories like telecommunication, at the end of the 36 months, they still are asking us to support them for the next years.
Okay, great, good. We have another question about the different categories. I'm just going to use that to just briefly go into a document here that I would like to share. Because the question was, where are other, saving opportunities? Telco is always high margin. So I just wanted to point to this. So this is potentially part of the next step. So this is a document that gives you lots of information. We call it Franchise Opportunity Summary Document. And here, for example, you can see our top 20 categories over the last, 4 years. And you can see, telco is quite high up there. But all the other categories in our top 20 are in the range of anywhere from 25, 30 to, well, the lowest is 14 with different categories, but 17 in operating supplies and IT. Logistics and freight, we average 18, which is a big category. Fleet management, 21. So you see, it's not uncommon to find 20 or more % savings. That just highlights, I think, that point that it's not so much about negotiating a better price. It's really about, finding a solution. Now, there's a really good question from Roosbay, and I would like to give that to you, Stefano. If kind of the opportunity that we present in cost reduction has to do with value-added activities, it's not just in the price. what's the risk that the client is, not accepting that recommendation because they will have to change maybe?
Well, as I said before, during when we present the options to the client, the client is not obliged to accept all the options we present. We usually present 2 or 3 different options, considering different level of saving and different level of services, starting at least from the basic requested by the client, of course. And then they are they're free to choose the one that they prefer, because it's never our choice. So the risk is always in the hand of the clients. It's not our risk. We are making some proposal, but they need to be convinced that they have to be convinced 100%. They are not obliged to implement some solution if they are not convinced.
Yeah. And it's linked to the other question. Maybe I will pick that up and then we can wrap up in 2 minutes. Because from a commercial perspective, Gil is asking, well, your analysis is basically for free. How does that work for our revenue?
But this is very easy to answer. Honestly.
It's very easy. Well, it's not for free, right? I don't know what your answer would be, Stefano.
My answer is going to be very easy, because apart that it's not for free, let's say that's the first job. As soon as you join, it depends also on your experience. As soon as you join ERA, don't have too much experience, probably can take a little bit longer to make an analysis. But let me say that as soon as you start having the benchmark of the market, knowing the category, knowing the market, for instance, for telecommunication, I can get the data, I can get the contract and an invoice from a client, and probably in less than 5 minutes, I can tell you if good to start the project or not. If we can some space, some value to implement the project or not. It doesn't take more than 5 minutes of my time.
Yeah. So that's good. So from your perspective, if there is a project that just doesn't have a lot of potential, you will spot that very quickly as a specialist and be able to say, let's not do that project, or let's just finish that situation.
Correct.
There could be another way of reading the question, which is, so we're giving all of the analysis to the client for free, and then they just walk away with it and never pay us, right? And you're nodding there. So that's the direction you're going. Not possible. So before we do anything for the client with the data, we sign an agreement. Now, and I think that's really a good question maybe to end on, because if you decide to join our network, what you are essentially buying is 32 years of making all the mistakes that you could possibly make with this model, right? So we're not, there are so many good consultants out there, right? Accenture or PwC, they can do what we do with data, and they can do number crunching and all of that, right? We have figured out a really good way to provide this service to small and medium-sized enterprise, right? And on relatively small budgets, at a no saving, no fee model. So we're really the specialists for charging on a success fee. And so what you're buying it's the contract, which really protects you, but the contract and then all the other stages and deliverables, and also the way we weave the relationship with the client. We don't get to that point later on in the process where all of a sudden they don't want to pay us. It doesn't happen. I know it's hard to believe, but we will take you through that journey in more detail, and then you'll understand, that's how they do it. And of course, during your 2 weeks of foundational training, you go, that's exactly how it's done. Okay. So it's really, that is the magic sauce that you're buying to be able to actually sell this on a no saving, no fee model and get paid. Guarantee, we don't have any problem chasing the money, right? So we get paid the success fee, and clients are actually very happy. And I think, Rui, your question was going probably into similar directions, so we answered those. All right, cool. So let me just take 2 more minutes. So we're running a bit over time, conscious of your valuable time. So I want to, if I can find my presentation, wrap up. Sorry. Okay, you know how it is when you get lost in too many documents being opened. Just a second. So, this is what I need. All right, that's the one slide I'm just looking for. I just want to leave you with a kind of a clear idea on what the next step could be. Okay, so if you've enjoyed tonight and you're thinking, oh, wow, this is becoming more and more interesting for me, this could be a potential opportunity for me, we would like to invite you to set up a follow-up meeting with the person you're dealing with. So whoever you're in touch with, please reach out in an email. Let's set up another call. We will make sure that you sign a confidentiality agreement. It's just a 1-page, very simple, so that we can share with you what we call this franchise opportunity summary document. Okay, this is for you to review at your own time. Lots of information about the business, about our history, about the earnings, about everything that you need to know. And so we ask you to digest that. After that, we'll introduce you to the local management team, to members of the local franchise network, to really get to know them and understand the culture in that local team. We will help you with your business planning. So that's something that's very important to you, really building a solid 3 to 5 year plan together. And then we'll also make sure that you meet parts of our senior management team, ideally on a, in person or on a call. And we'll make sure that we're happy with the decision to bring you into the network, that we, have the feeling you're coming in with the right expectation, the right ambition, and the right goals for yourself, and we can support those. You take your decision, and then ultimately we sign a franchise agreement with you. And then the journey will start with a 10-day foundational training in our global academy, in our headquarters in the UK. Okay, so every partner around the world, even from America, from Mexico City, from Australia, you flying into the UK, spending 2 weeks with your class. Okay, we do this around 10 times a year. And so that's the kickoff of your onboarding. And then from there, we will release you into the local mentoring and support in your country. And just make sure that you get off to a really flying start with your own consulting business and become a valuable part of the network and enjoy the journey for the next, I don't know, Stefano is going 15, 20 years, maybe, we'll see. So anyway, so hopefully you've enjoyed today. Again, this is just a snapshot and just, we're still a relatively high level, but you're starting to understand, hopefully, whether this could be right for you. And if it feels good, then please continue the process with us and stay in touch. So we thank you very much for your time tonight. Stefano, thank you very much for sharing your journey.
It was a pleasure.
Megan, thank you very much for setting us up here tonight with everything. So yeah, all the best. Merry Christmas to those of you who are going to celebrate in the next weeks, and we'll hopefully see many of you in the new year.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Bye.